The last few days, I've been about as happy as a hungry lion. And you know what I've realized? And I've already known this, but it's just the recognition of it and the remembrance of it that sometimes has to occur for us to really appreciate where we've come from and how we've gotten to where we are and just our livelihoods, right? It's that you don't have to do anything that you don't like to do. You really don't. You don't have to put up with a single thing that anybody is doing that you don't like. You don't have to put up with it. Tolerance. A lot of people that follow Christ will claim tolerance and will claim that there's this quality of life to you that you have to tolerate other people. I think that that's abhorrent. I think that that's ridiculous, and I think that that ideology and frame of mind is going to get you to a place where you are slowly becoming a people pleaser disguised as this virtuous person. And what you're actually doing is you're disrespecting yourself and you're calling it virtue. You don't have to do that. I don't know if anybody has ever told you that before, but you don't have to do that. Now, this doesn't mean that you just get to treat people like crap and you're going to go around being an a-hole or anything like that. That's not the point. But if you can socialize and make boundaries and assess those boundaries and create those boundaries with affirmations in your being, and I'm not saying affirmations as in like mantras or prayers per se, but I'm speaking in the regard of, can you be affirmative in what you are making as a boundary? Can you be affirmative in how you're responding to people and how you're responding to other things around you or situations? Life doesn't have to be this overthinking, overbearing, depressive, anxious thing, because it's how you relate to these things. It's how you relate to what's happening around us and how you relate to what's happening to you as well, because ultimately the relationship that you have with the unconscious is going to be not only determining how you have the relationship with others, but how, and specifically with the other gender, but also how you're gonna have a relationship with the future of you. Because if you don't have a good relationship with your unconscious, meaning your past or the things that are happening now that you don't know, or the potential of what could be, if you don't have a good relationship with that, your future is not going to be good. Your future is not going to be positive. And so you have to recognize how this looks. And I think that if you're conscientious and you are very industrious as well in regard to your personality, it's going to be easier for you to formulate a relationship with your unconscious mind than someone that's maybe open. If you're high in openness, for example, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to relate to your unconscious, because you might want to feel as though you have to revolutionize anything and everything about you in order to be you. And that's not always the case. Now, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes you have to just kill off a lot of parts of yourself. I know I had to kill off the simp within me multiple times, and sometimes that simp will try to come back. Sometimes he'll try to revive himself and be like a zombie, but I have to, nope. You gotta be that hungry lion and devour those terrible parts of yourself that are only going to get you to more misery, really. Because those miserable parts of you that once were, they will try to eat you back up, because those miserable parts of you are actually demonic entities. And I mean that technically, and I mean that sincerely as well, because technically speaking, if you're interacting with remnants or the residue of your unconscious mind, and it's not you anymore, like you've moved on from it, but it's almost like there's this trying to bring you back into the game, so to speak. Well, then what is that? What's happening exactly with that? well, what's happening is that the demons of the past are trying to creep back into the present moment. And sometimes, as they say, new levels, new devils. And if you are moving up in levels of life, there's going to be different kinds of demons that you're going to have to deal with. But the important thing to remember is that you don't have to live by the rules of the society. It's so crazy how studying Bitcoin has freed my mind and liberated my mind in a way where I'm legitimately enthusiastic about frickin' finance. Do you know how much I hated finance growing up? Do you know how much I've despised finance for decades of my life because I had a terrible relationship with money? And it's definitely improved over the last 5 years, of course, and especially since following Christ, it's like, night and day. But 4 years ago, but holy moly, I mean, I'm just so pumped talking about and learning about finance. And I never thought that I would get to this point. And I'm looking at the fiat system. I'm looking at the ways in which things are operating in the fiat currency. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know when this is going to blow. But I know that it's not going to go on forever. And I know it's due for a collapse. And I know that, and I think, rather, I don't know this, but I think that it's hard to speculate about what exactly is going to happen when. And this is one of the reasons why I don't do date prophecies, okay? I don't really think of myself as a prophetic person anyway, or maybe a prophet, I would say, because there are prophetic things, like in my book, for example, my book of oldishness. The visions that I had in that book are very prophetic, but it's not always like I'm a prophet. I don't consider myself to be a prophet, and people they've tried to claim certain things like this before, and I think that that's just kind of a dangerous thing to claim to be. The most I want to claim myself to be, because I don't really categorize myself in anything other than just being a follower of Christ. I'm a follower of Christ first and foremost, and I love Christ, and I want to be as much like him as possible, because I know to be like him is to also be closer to myself, and to be closer to myself is also to be more like him. And I don't have to put up with these false, fake Christians or these fake relationship gurus or anything like that. Like, all of these people that are telling you how, because think about all of the relationship gurus. And the reason I bring that up in regard to the Jesus topic, because it can be a topic for people, I suppose, in general. But the reason that I bring up relationships is because, and relationship gurus, is because they think that sleeping with women and your ability to talk women into bed is in direct correlation with your confidence and your self-worth. And I do think that there's something to be said for your ability to talk to a woman and make her excited and have her desire you, of course. But if you don't even know yourself, you're just going to be manipulating. And the cool thing about following Christ when it comes to relationships is that you can just be who you are. You can still be a masculine man, have strong boundaries, and have ambitions, have an interest in power, have an interest in influence, and yet you can still not have to sleep with women to feel like you're worthy of of confidence, and you're worthy of these things. And I'm saying this as somebody that I see that there's so many men who believe that this is the case. And I myself, I have a lot of access to a lot of different women if I really wanted to, but I don't really care to seduce them. I mean, I could, I know how to do it, but why would I want to? What's What's the actual goal there apart from, like, it's just a numbers quest? Women aren't really something to be on a conquest. They're more of something to conquer and someone to conquer. But it's not the way that you think, okay? Women are conquered through spirituality. And when a man conquers a woman through his spirit, she wants to give him everything. She wants to do, like, we read the Proverbs 31 on Wednesday for the Bible study call in the Regal Change Academy. And we were talking about how a woman who's a Proverbs 31 woman, she cannot be that woman to her fullest without a man that is actually being in his fullest. It's just not possible. It's not that she can't be her own person, but she's going to be able to be more of who she is when she's with that man. And in many ways, I don't think a man can truly be complete in the ways in which maybe God wants him to without having a woman by his side and having that woman who is spiritually conquered. I don't really see how that's, I don't even know how this is controversial anymore, but apparently it's very controversial. And apparently having boundaries and just not taking disrespect is controversial too. And having a respect for your time and your energy and not making excuses, apparently that's disrespectful to some people. But the thing is, it's not disrespectful to be respectful to yourself. And this is where I think a lot of people who maybe have not healed a lot of their past or are bitter about their past or black-pilled and whatnot while pretending not to be black-pilled, or maybe they are black-pilled and they don't even know that they're black-pilled. These kinds of people are very dangerous to be around, I think, because it doesn't really, like, they can't really add anything to the conversation. They can't really add anything of value. They're just there to take. They're like these people who have never actually gotten discipline from their parents. And it's not really their fault, and it's not really the parents' fault. Maybe they just didn't know what they didn't know, and they did the best they could. Unfortunately, in some instances, sometimes our best is just not enough for certain things, and that's an unfortunate truth. But it doesn't have to be like that, though. If you're competent enough, if you're resourceful enough, it doesn't need to be like that. You don't need to live your life like that. You don't need to live your life to get a degree, to get a this, to do a that, to get a job. But they don't tell you why to do these things. They don't tell you why it's important to do these things. They just tell you to go do them. They just don't. And it's the same kind of thing with these relationship gurus. It's the same kind of thing with these vain people who claim that it's like these people claim that they know Christ, and yet they're preaching nothing but vanity to the people online because they're getting a paycheck for it. Now look, I'm not opposed to you getting paid for speaking the good news and the truth. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But when you're directly telling people only what they want to hear, because you know how to tell people, like, I've seen these women, these conservative grifters who they're wearing their cross necklace with their cleavage hanging out and all this stuff, and men are just like simping all over her, and she's preaching Jesus while she's wearing not much, and these men are falling for it. It's the same thing with, like, these women talking about semen retention, and then they're like, ooh, women will show you everything you need to know when you're on semen retention. Like, whatever the stupid titles are, like, it's just, and then you watch the video and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, let's take a look at this and see actually what they're saying here. Maybe I'm missing something, right? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm judging. Maybe I'm a little too overt in my assessment. Then you listen to it and you're like, nope, physiognomy is physiognomy for a reason. So it just is what it is, guys. Don't fall for these thirst traps and then think that these women are talking about the good news and the good truth. And I don't know how you can, I mean, I know how you can get to that point, but it's like soft core corn. That's all that it is. And they're taking your credulity and your civility and they're exposing it. And they're using it for their own interests. So be mindful of this. And it can happen with men too. There's a lot of men out there that will talk about how to get rich with Jesus. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy internally and externally, but you can't really have a richness to you externally if you're not rich internally. And you have to be rich internally first. You have to believe that it's already yours first. So, with all that being said, and look, it's not financial advice, by the way. That's not financial advice. I'm just saying that the more I have a positive relationship with money and with people in general and with myself, the better things work out. So I hope that you all have a blessed rest of your day. Join the Regal Change Academy or set up a one-on-one mentorship call with me. Or if you're interested in the Godlike Mastery Initiation program as well, reach out to me about that, because that's where the creme de la creme of the people that I work with really go to, is in that Godlike Mastery Initiation program. So I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace and be with you. Till next time.